Prepare STL presents What Matters to Me Most with Dr. L.J. Punch, trauma surgeon and founder of the TSTL. Learn more at preparestl.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. L.J. Punch, trauma surgeon and founder of The T, a community of health working to reduce the impact of trauma in the St. Louis region. Today, I'm at The T with my friend Chris Krehmeyer, and we're going to have a great conversation about how we work to be well and whole in this second year of the pandemic with a special focus on home. I couldn't think of anybody better to share than Chris as we dig into the ways in which this pandemic has both strengthened and challenged us as a community.
What matters to me most?
Chris, thank you so much for coming by today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you are busy. You serve our community in so many different ways. I just want to start by asking you, what's going on for folks right now? How do you see year 2 of COVID-19 playing out in the communities you serve?
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. Year 2 is a lot like year 1, right? The calendar flipped, but quite frankly, life hasn't changed a whole lot. Mm-hmm. People still worried, people still scared about a whole lot of different things, from their health to their finances, to their livelihood, to their family, to their housing situation. So for us, it's about trying to understand how we can best stand in that breach with folks. Like how can we assist you, right? What do you need today? Knowing tomorrow could be something different, but today, what do you need, and how might we and all of our partners in this work, how can we come to your aid during this difficult time? In a perfect world, what we're trying to do is, when all this is said and done, are you near the space that you were in March 2020, right? Can we have you kind of be close to that? So you haven't fallen back and you haven't, lost some of the great strides you made. And that's the challenge, right? A year later, and all this, stuff has happened, and it's still here, right? It's still here, right? It's
still
not like, got a new president, we got new stuff, and right, new calendar. No, it's the situation is still the same for most of the folks we serve day in and day out.
So how do you see the ongoing situation, the ongoing stress, and honestly, the ongoing fear changing the way you work in the region overall? Well,
so a couple of things. One, obviously we've learned how to communicate a little differently, because so much of our work used to be about face-to-face relationships, right? Either it's in the living room, you come to the office, right? We're building that trusting relationship by being in space together, right? And that for us is the kind of the magic, right? It's building that trusting relationship, and you don't do that because you show up one day. It's because you're consistent and you're there time after time after time, right? Even those folks don't call you back or don't want to talk to you, still checking on them. You okay? How can we help? How can we help? And then finally, hopefully the door opens up. So we've had to pivot to is, can you talk to me on the phone? Will you text me? Can we do a little FaceTime, right? Can I somehow still have you have confidence in that we're going to listen to you first and foremost? And then we're not just going to ask you what you need and then not have it for you, right? Nothing worse, right? People don't have time for look, if you can't help me, then I really don't have time for you. Thanks for offering, right? So we had to be real clear on, once we started asking that question, are we ready to have those resources be available? Don't ask a question you can't answer, right? Yeah, right. So what people have said is they worry about rent and they worry about utilities are the two biggest things that they're worried about, because they know those two things are so critical for their roof over their head, right? That part of the social determinants that is kind of the driver for a lot. It's not the only thing, right? But it's clearly a big driver for what happens after that. And they're really worried, what am I going to do, right? I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet, right? So we try to step in that space. So we've given out probably over $1 million in rental assistance, both to the families that live in the rental units that we own. We own about 500 rental units. And then all throughout the 24-1 footprint. So again, we've tried to say, we got that part for you. Take a deep breath. Got you covered. You don't got to worry about eviction. You don't got to worry about foreclosures, because we've done some mortgage assistance as well. And then let's figure out what's your game plan, right? Because for us, it's not just about here's some money, because that's just transactional. And we believe in work that's transformational, right? So yeah, I want to get you stabilized, and you can take a deep breath and say, okay, Do I got to find a job? How am I going to pay the car note? I mean, what are all those other things, right? We want you to just be able to have a little bit of pause. So you're thinking about those things, and we can try to say, how can we help you along that journey as well till you get to whatever that end game is for you, right? What's your aspiration? Right now we're in crisis intervention, but we really want to be in the aspirational achievement work. But we can't get there unless we deal with the crisis intervention.
Well, what I'm hearing is a very effective response in dealing with that crisis, including changing your work mode, changing how you connect to people, changing even what you offer.
Yeah.
That is in stark comparison to what we saw at the larger governmental level, certainly from our federal government. Tell me how 24/1 was able to do that and our national government was unable to do it. What made your response different?
Well, a couple of things. I think one, we had existing relationships, right? So we were able to say real quickly, hey, what's going on? Talk to us, right? Real quick. We had a sense of job loss was quick and fast. We're like, okay, well, how many, right? Like I've had this, it's like 50%, 20%. Okay, where you at? Do you have any savings? Do you have okay, if you're in an industry where you can't get a job because the whole industry shut down,
sure.
All right, what's your game plan? Or what was the hardest part for us is you're in a space where you had to put yourself in a space where you could catch it, right? And then,
for first line, front line, essential
right?
workers,
and you
right?
have somebody at home who's in a compromised situation, and you're in this awful spot. Like I got to go to work because I got to get paid, because I got to pay my bills. But if I go to work, I'm endangering myself and my loved ones. What an awful spot to be in, right? There wasn't this nice middle class. My biggest problem is how am I going to take care of my kids at school and all the Zoom things, right? Other folks are like, look, I don't want to die, and I don't want to inadvertently harm my loved ones. And how do you work with them on how do you make that decision? And if you do, what are the consequences? And then again, how can we be in that space with you to help you say, look, that's a decision that you need to think through and make. We're happy to listen, but if you need our assistance, you said, I can't do that right now. I'll just deal with the income loss as best I can because I don't want to put myself or my family in harm's way. That's the kind of stuff we asked. Again, our methodology is ask, align, and act. Right? Ask folks, what do you need? What do you want? What's the solution to the problems you see in front of you? Align the resources, partners, and otherwise, and then act. It's our favorite part. Get some stuff done, right?
We'll be right back. Learn about the pros and the cons of the COVID-19 vaccines. Visit preparestl.com to get the facts. Remember, the choice is yours. Prepare STL, helping St. Louisans of color prepare and prevail. What matters to me most is access.
When it comes to the plans for the COVID-19 vaccination, what matters to me most is making sure that our vulnerable population is served properly. A lot of our seniors and a lot of our elderly, which is the same as seniors, are very vulnerable to this virus, and I'm hoping that they would receive access to the vaccination first and not last.
This is What Matters to Me Most with Dr. LJ Punch, trauma surgeon and founder of the TSTL.
Well, it sounds like you didn't just ask, but as you just said, you were happy to listen, and that's an experience that we don't necessarily have from some of the larger institutions. What do you think stops? I mean, tell me, what the real reason is that some of the organizations and institutions that are supposed to service and protect us so horribly fail, in particular Black and brown folks, nationally and even locally?
I think just the idea of institution implies that you think you know better. You don't got to ask nobody because you're an institution. You're so smart. You have the smart people. You have big size. You have big buildings. You have big budgets. So you just assume you know what the issues are, versus having enough humility to say, let's find out for sure. So what we've done in the last year is we've done 4 separate surveys and asked hundreds of folks. Tell us what you're feeling. What are you worried about? Did you lose your job? Did you lose your hours? Did you file for unemployment? Did you get unemployment? Right? All these things about, again, what are the things you need, from toiletries to cleaning supplies to, again, so we had a sense of how can we best respond to you, It wasn't us saying, I know what you need because I'm so smart.
Right.
It was like, you tell us.
Well, COVID made everyone a fool.
Yeah.
I mean, we just got to say it. I mean, there were so many, and are still so many unknowns in what it means even from a medical, biological perspective to how it's going to impact us moving forward.
Right.
I also can imagine that COVID, it really changed our relationship with home. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, home has meant something different in the last year. Mm. What do you see people needing now when it comes to home?
Well, look, I think they need what they've always needed, and that's someplace that they feel safe, right? And safe has large connotations there, right? It's, from a health perspective, from a domestic violence situation, from your neighborhood situation. I mean, there's so many different things that the idea of home and what home means to folks, right? And how home can be the springboard for the rest of your life. And if home can be positioned in such that it provides you the nurturing, caring, loving environment, then you have a great chance of being successful in life. And for us, it's a physical space, but it's not so much about the physical space, right? It's about the life in and around that space that's going to fuel and drive the success of everybody living there. And certainly we know there are places and spaces where kids aren't as safe as they should be, families aren't as safe as they should be. Even if they're able to, stay quarantined, it does not mean that situation is necessarily great. It can be, but it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be safe.
So I'm hearing safety from you in a few different ways, right? Because you're talking about safe and secure, having basic needs met. You're talking about safe and secure, being able to work in a workplace safely. You're talking about safe and secure, our relationships with each other. Let's now throw in something else that's got safety on the mind, which is the vaccine. How do you see the vaccine impacting the communities that you're trying to serve?
Well, clearly, we're trying to be an ambassador for. Look, this is going to be good for everybody, you included. So come sign up on all the doggone lists, and hope we can make heads or tails up, because I can't, right? So you just sign up as best you can. But no, this is a path for your own health and safety, for your family's health and safety, and for your community's health and safety. And ask all the questions you need to. Right? Get comfortable. Don't take it because somebody else told you. Ask some questions. Right? Ask the questions that you should ask to feel confident. And I know I've heard a lot of people say, I'm gonna wait a bit and see what happens to everybody else. Okay, just be safe in the interim.
Right.
But ultimately, unless nothing comes up that says it's problematic, then take care of yourself and your loved ones.
Oh my gosh, I love what you're saying, because there's just so many important things here. So first of all, yes, like as a physician, for me, people having the power to make an informed choice is the most important part of all of this. And if they make a choice one way or the other, they still must pay attention to things like masks, hands, distance, because the virus is here. But the other thing I'm loving about what you're saying is the way in which the decision, while it is a very personal one, it has huge implications for our larger community. How do we balance, right? How do we balance as leaders, as servants, that tension between I get the power to make an informed personal choice, and yet everyone's individual choice has huge implications for our community at large?
Well, again, I just think you have to have the courage to have that conversation with folks, right? It's just like, look, I get you've decided it's not for me. Got it. But understand, if everybody's like you, what's going to happen, right? I mean, think through, and then they still get to make their own choice, right? But raise the consciousness, like, let's talk about this a little bit more. I mean, it's akin to the struggle that we have with the idea of charter schools, right? Clearly, we want the best education for our children, right? But in our case, in our community, if a charter comes, it's going to take away resources from the existing public school system, which can't lose a nickel. So I don't want the success of 100 children causing the failure of 3,000 children. Right? So in this case, if you decide not to get the vaccine, clearly your choice, but recognize if everybody does that, then we're not going to get past this, and more people are going to die.
All right, let me get you on that though. Okay, I'm gonna put it back to you because you are already doing work that presents a very powerful alternative. Because here's the thing, Chris. First of all, not everybody can even get the vaccine right now. I mean, let's just talk about that. But second of all, the vaccine is dependent on a healthy immune system, and there's so many factors in the environment, right, that drive the ability to have a healthy immune system. Tell me a little bit about the ways in which Beyond Housing is supporting environment, public space, outdoor space, the ability to just get out there and take care of our bodies.
Sure. So a couple of things. One, we have a forester on staff, so we're planting trees.
Wow.
We're taking care of our tree canopy. We're trimming trees. We're making sure we have healthy trees because again, the oxygenation of trees and having a canopy of trees does such great value to people's health. It also, quite frankly, helps with the heat in the summertime, right? So we can keep houses cooler. We can again not have to use AC as much. Again, we can again take care of ourselves. We're also talking about this idea and notion of the physical space, right? And why do communities like ours get the junkyards and get all the other stuff that don't go anyplace else, right? That just only come to communities like ours. And how do we start saying, no, we're done with that. We got enough of this stuff, right? No more. You that's a legitimate business. Go someplace else because we got 12 of them here already. Right, we don't need any more. Right, push back on the norms. People just get used to stuff. Right, sometimes you just get used to stuff. It's like wallpaper, right? And you get used to it. Like, well, why is all these damn junkyards in our community? Because it was the path of least resistance, right? And Clayton wouldn't let them come in, so they got to come to your community, right? So again, how do we as an organization push back on the norms that people are used to and say, no, we can do better than this, right? This community doesn't want any more junkyards. They don't want any more payday lenders. They don't want any more folks that are predatory in nature. They want folks that's going to support what they desire and how they see their life moving forward.
And unfortunately, once again, COVID has supercharged the ways in which people can take advantage of other people's need and really fuel that fear. So recognizing that, what do you see that's the total opposite of that? What right now is giving you hope as we move into year 2 of this pandemic?
Well, and I think one of the things is this, I think, willingness of the not-for-profit world to figure out, look, how do we work together? Because none of us can do this on our own, right? We don't have the capacity, the skills, the knowledge, the bandwidth to tackle all this stuff, right? And once and for all, can we come together and say, look, if we're going to make place better, if we're going to help families get stronger, it's not because one of us does some miraculous thing. It's not how life works. It's, again, weaving together the fabric of a place and the fabric of a life, right? That says, how do we do this in a way that says you need a decent, safe place to live, you need a decent job, you need to have access to healthcare, you need to have access to healthy food, you need to have access to all the things that so many of us take for granted, that just exist in many people's lives. But for a lot of folks we serve, none of them exist. Or maybe they have one or two, but the other things aren't there, and there's no way to address them, right? So how do we finally come together and say, look, the cavalry ain't coming from no place else. We have the resources and the tools here in St. Louis. If we have the courage to say we're going to act differently, we're going to work differently, we're going to allocate resources differently, we're truly going to finally say the places that need help and the families that live there deserve this opportunity. And guess what? We know how to do all this stuff, right? We know how to build houses and rehab houses. We know how to run programs, right? We know about infant mortality, right? We know all this stuff we know, right? I don't need no more research paper. The only research we need, maybe it's on some new COVID stuff, but all this other stuff, we don't need, don't need. We got the Ferguson report, we got the For Sake of All report, we got all this stuff, right? Stop doing all that. Stop wasting your time. We know what to do. Do we have the collective regional courage to allocate the resources in a different way and commit to this community deserves better and we can get it done?
As a community health advocate, it has been just the thrill of my career to work with Prepare STL in this larger regional effort to do the brave thing, and to work collaboratively. I so feel you on that.
Yeah.
So feel you on that.
I think we can change stuff.
Yeah.
We really can.
And we already are. All right.
We just need to have collective regional courage to invest differently, to commit differently, to make a difference in families' lives, because we know how to do it.
When it comes to the plans for the COVID-19 vaccine, what matters to you most?
What matters to me most is that those who are always, always, always at the end of the line get to be in the front of the line. That people get a chance, right? It's not always we're going to get to you when we can, when we take care of everybody else. Or it's easy. It's going to be really hard for you to get it because it's always hard for you to get everything else. Like, no, let's make this different, because we know where COVID has ravaged folks. We know where the comorbidities are. We know where all the challenges are. Let's make sure those folks get every opportunity to make their decision about, this is what I want. And I want to take care of me and my family.
And the incredible thing, though, I just have to say, is that that's not just right. It's good practice, because COVID takes advantage of those who are the most vulnerable among us. And so what you're suggesting is not simply this lofty goal, but it's actually a very powerful and wise approach to this public health crisis.
People just need to listen to us then.
That's right, Chris. We got the answers. We're ready to go.
What matters to me most?
You know what? That's what I'm talking about. It is in us already, everything we need, if we simply make the choice to work collaboratively, collectively, courageously together. This is the thing that's going to help our region move forward and prevail in the setting of COVID-19.
What matters to me most is a presentation of Prepare STL. Prepare STL is a collaboration powered by the Missouri Foundation for Health in partnership with the Regional Health Commission, the City of St. Louis County, and other community health organizations to help prepare all St. Louisans for the effects of the COVID-19 response, how to stop its spread, and how to survive the pandemic physically, emotionally, and economically. Don't miss an episode of the What Matters to Me Most podcast with Dr. LJ Punch, trauma surgeon and founder of the TSTL, for the latest conversations on COVID-19 and STL, vaccines, racial health disparities, physical and emotional well-being, and more. Download the podcast at preparestl.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Executive producer, Vector Communications. What Matters to Me Most is another positive production of Rare Gem Productions.